I don't think Becky needs an introduction. So I will go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Farley.
Thank you, Caroline. Okay, you have 3 papers here that it would save you time if you picked them up. And I always have more material than I can cover in the allotted time. So I'm going to move fast and furious. And I won't talk over you, though. Okay, so if those little conversations are going on in little pockets, I will just stop until they stop. Because that's the one thing, because I can't focus. Maybe I'm ADD or something, I don't know. Okay, so when Ellen asked me what I wanted to call this session on grading, I thought of the one thing that always comes to my mind is old writing teachers never die, they just grade away. And sorry, but I am an old writing teacher, and I am here to make a confession to all of you. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I used to have a colleague that if he didn't like something that we did, he would just say, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. And so that kind of got into my vocabulary. But when it comes to grading, and I did a calculation, I did about 3 times, I came up with, over the course of my career, I have graded about 50,000 student essays. And I don't mean just little papers, I mean the big projects. And actually, I think it's more like 500,000, but I'm an English teacher, not a math person. So I thought I would err on the side of, against hyperbole. I don't like hyperbole. So I have graded at least 50,000 student essays. And because of that, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. And some of you may feel that way too. And I might say, if you've been giving writing assignments and if you've been properly grading them all these years, for as long as I have, if you don't hate it, I don't understand you. I don't know how to relate to you. But if you don't hate grading, that could be a good thing, but it could be, I'm going to change that. No, that's not the point. So anyway. But good advice is wasted on the young. When I was a senior in high school, my creative writing teacher, my favorite teacher, I was her favorite student, and she said at the end of the year, what are you going to major in when you go to college? And I just thought she'd just bust her buttons in pride when I said, I want to be an English teacher. And she said, oh no. And I was taken aback, you can imagine. And I said, what? And I thought, is she telling me I don't have it? I'm not capable? What did she say? She said, you will grade your life away. But when you're 17, that's not going to happen to me. I'm on top of this or whatever. Well, it didn't take me long to go back and think, Mrs. Gilbert, wherever you are. Yeah, she knew what she was talking about even then. And it reminded me of a poem by A.E. Housman. When I was 1 in 20, I heard a wise man say, he talks about, don't give your heart away. But I was 1 in 20, no, he used to talk to me, I know better. But then by the time he's 2 in 20, he's already learned it's true. So I kind of changed it, so with apologies to Housman and Mrs. Gilbert, when I was 10 and 7, I heard my teacher say, don't follow in my footsteps, you'll grade your life away. Don't become a writing teacher. Your time will not be free. But I was 10 and 7. Now he used to talk to me. Now that I'm 10 times 7, and no, I'm not really. I just feel like it. Now that I'm 10 times 7, I hear her in my head. The time you spend in grading from now until you're dead, 'tis paid with sighs aplenty, and sold for endless rue. And now I'm old and blinded, and oh, 'tis true, 'tis true. So, yeah, what happened to Tuesday is gone like my youth. Okay, so I want to look at some ways that we approach grading and maybe writing assignments, and then maybe you'll find a place where you fit, and then maybe we'll find a place where we can all kind of come together on the same page. Maybe you're the kind of person that when you're reading, you know, you just kind of overlook all of the mistakes and all of the illogical points and misspelled words and typos, and you just say, well, at least they're half right. They got their name on the page, or at least they turned in something, you know. I am a half glass, half full type person, but I don't do that. But then there are the pessimists who say, oh, they got them half wrong, you know, half is 50%, that's, you know, failing, forget it. And then there are the realists, and I think of this I am certainly one. Statistically speaking, my teaching has had no impact. You get up there and you talk yourself blue in the face and you think something clicked, and then you get back the result of, you know, the product that they had created for you, and you just go, you know, what did we do? What did we do? If undergrads are the future, we are all doomed. So, well, you may be thinking, I don't know what she's up there talking to me. I don't know why I have to be here. I'm not a writing teacher. This is all moot. Not my circus, not my monkeys. I never give writing assignments. I'm a math teacher. I'm a science teacher. I'm a music teacher. I don't have to do that. Besides, that's what they pay the English department to do. Folks, I am the English department. Literally. And I have some wonderful people I work with. Yeah, so then you blame me when they can't write. I've got wonderful people I work with. We've got great adjuncts. Gail, of course, works with us, even though that's not really her preference. Feel. Sometimes I have the wrong filter. But really, you know, if you expect our students who come in here in the state that they are in, as far as writing is concerned, and I don't think I have to tell you all anything, even if you're new here, and then you expect the English department to have miraculously changed that by the time they graduate, you're just cruel, and you're just out of touch with reality, because we know it doesn't happen, and it won't happen, but maybe we can do a little better than we're doing in some ways. But I know some people, I was thinking about where I have graded. You know, I've graded on airplanes, I've graded on the beach, I've graded in the bathtub, I've graded in bed. Well, maybe that's TMI, but you all might be saying, you know, I wouldn't grade in a boat, I wouldn't grade with a goat. Well, some of us do. So we think it's kind of like, if I have to, so do you. So you should do it in the rain and on a train and everything else. Now, some people say, well, I do give writing assignments, and I don't want it to be much of a burden. You know, I just give them a check mark, you know, or a little smiley face, you know, oh, you did it, thanks, you know. And I do say, you're half, well, maybe not half, but you're a little way there by saying, I'm giving you some credit, because I don't think you should ever give an assignment and then ignore it, because what kind of message does that send? But you've got to read it. You got to read it. At another institution where I taught, I had a colleague, and I wouldn't have known about this if a student hadn't come and complained about a grade that she got at the end of the year in her English 101 class. And I was chair of the English department, and so I had to go talk to the professor. And she'd gotten a C in the class, and she said, I never got any feedback at all. I turned in all my papers. I never got them back. I never got a grade on anything. I did well. You know, I know I was doing everything right, and I got a C. So we went to him and we said, she needs to see the evidence of this. And long story short, he opened a closet and he had just stacked all of his composition papers in there. He never read them at all. And then he just decided on looking at the students, you know, whether they came to class or whatever, whether they had a smile on their face, I don't know, whether they had curly hair, I don't know. And he assigned them grades. And he had gotten by with that for semesters, and nobody had challenged it. And so for the first time, he admitted, I never read them. I never read them. And if he hadn't already had tenure, sadly, something else would have been the end result of that little experience. But no, if they write it, you gotta read it, and don't just say, well, I'll get to it sometime. You know, you can't just say, do as I say and not as I do. They've got to see you, you know, anteing up the same way we expect them to do it. So if we say, this is due in 2 weeks, then they have the right to expect you to get it back to them in a timely manner. And usually we say within a week, you know, sometimes you have other things, but so not just at some point, which means probably never. Now, some people think that grading means going over every word and every piece of punctuation and marking it, maybe writing a little explanation out here, or maybe rewriting it, changing it until everything is just covered in red. You can't even read what was originally there. Yeah, I'm not an editor. Sometimes I have to serve as an editor, you know, like for the Midway News or something like that. But as an English professor, as a writing teacher, as a teacher who makes writing assignments, that's not part of our job. That's not in the job description. We're not editors. So a lot of that you'll grade your life away comes from being an editor and grading your life away. It doesn't have to be that way, is what I'm here to say. And it was when I discovered that then I could move on to be in the profession as long as I have been. If you don't know who Lou Grant is, can't help you. But you don't mark every word, and you certainly don't mark it in red, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And maybe you're like this, and I have to admit, sometimes I wouldn't channel my inner Hemingway, but maybe my inner Faulkner or something, Virginia Woolf or something. But you get in there, and you're just like, I can't even tell you how to do this. Let me just do it. I'm just going to rewrite this paper for you. And there are times when I will take a sentence or something and just say, do it this way. See how that works, now you try it, now you do that. You know, and maybe only do one sentence, not a whole paragraph or two or whatever. But sometimes, you know, if you are a good writer, if you do really value good writing, you look at what you get and you can't stand it, you know, and you say, this cannot exist. It's got to be redone. And so rather than go through the process of working with the student, we'd rather just do it ourselves. We can't do that. And we can't come up to our professor and say, I need you to write my paper for me, as some students have done. So, whoever you are, all of you, we believe in writing across the curriculum. That means all of us. We all need to incorporate writing into our material, whether we're math or we're science or we're home economics. And when we do that, we reinforce the concepts. Like, I know you were talking about having them write a paper on the history of algebra. Okay, so you're reinforcing things that you're teaching. Plus, we're also helping them improve their writing. And that helps everybody, including especially the English department, because we just can't do it by ourselves. So we can do it, but it doesn't have to be like this. Really, seriously, I've gone on vacation. Everybody else went, you know, the Bahamas on spring break. If I wanted to go to the Bahamas on spring break, I had to pack my suitcase with student papers. Seriously. And so I was grading while everybody else was drinking. And I was going to say, and so here's what I have learned over those years so that I don't cry every night. And I can continue. If you do the work on the front end, then it won't be such a pain in the back end. And by that, I mean, if you are a good communicator with your students, detailed syllabus, Moodle posts, specific requirements, checklists, library instruction, writing center, then it's less work for you when it comes down to the crunch where you've got to get those final projects graded and get those grades in. You've already done so much of the work. And I know you've heard us say this, writing is a process. It is, and that's not just for the student, it's for all of us. You know, if we buy into the process and we buy into that process that comes with the grading of that, it's not just all at one end or all at the other. So let's look at how you might be able to do this. So the first thing I mentioned was by having a very specific syllabus. I remember the days when you might, well, sometimes you didn't have syllabus. Y'all remember that? You know, in a grad class or something, you go in, you know, just sit around and talk, you know, that's cool. Yeah, y'all write a paper at the end of the semester, you know, and then everybody just sits around and talks for a while. I know we had a professor here who taught in the history department, and he had taught at UK for a long time, and he was old school. So his syllabus was one page, and it just said, we'll cover, you know, these time periods, and you'll have a midterm and a final. And that was pretty much it. And the students are like, what am I supposed to do with this? You know, we're like, and so there was complaints about that. And when I looked at it, I was like, oh, I know why he did it. That's how we used to do it. Y'all, anybody here? Yeah? No? Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm not crazy. That's not true anymore. We look at that syllabus as that contract, don't we? And we say, if we put it in the syllabus, then we can hold it accountable. If we don't put it in the syllabus, there's a loophole there. And so if you put it in the syllabus, they know up front. Some people even have them sign, you know, I read the syllabus, I understand it, you know, so they can't come back and say, well, I didn't know. There it was, you know. So all these things, what was this, what is that, what, it's in the syllabus. Put it in the syllabus. Make sure it's in the syllabus. So include everything, explain what it is. You don't have to give every detail, but enough. Show how the points are going to be calculated into their grades. You know, like, okay, you're going to have a paper. Well, is this a 10-point paper? Is this a 200-point paper? Is this worth half my grade, or is it just a daily grade? Those kinds of things. And again, I can't stress enough, be reasonable, because writing is a process. And you can't just say, you got a paper due, you got a paper due, you got a paper due. You've got to realize they've got to do the work to prepare for that paper. And so if you put it in the syllabus, then they've at least got, you know, heads up, it's coming. So, but the process takes time. So what do you do? I once heard a writing teacher say that she had learned when she was in school, she'd get her papers back, and the teacher had written what she thought was bagoo. Bagoo, two bagoo on it. She didn't know what bagoo was, you know. But I think a lot of times we're a little bagoo. We're a little vague in what we ask for. And so I was kind of looking at what's too much, what's not enough, what's just right. A lot of syllabi look like this. Paper due by end of semester. Not exactly when, not exactly what, not exactly how long. Write a paper, due tomorrow. Now, unless you just want a little reflection, like, okay, get out a piece of paper, and now I would just want to hear your thoughts, okay? Write a reflection. They don't know what that is, you know, or respond. I had another teacher I used to work with. She'd give them a poem, and then she'd say, respond. You know, their response might have been just to tear it up and go away. Or even 500 words due by Friday. That's a little better. So you might think this is a little overkill, but they will appreciate you've got a literary critical analysis on the Scarlet Letter down in MLA format, worth 100 points. You need a theme that you're going to share with us, and a thesis that is due on Monday, and I'm going to give you 25 points for turning that in. Your rough draft, not the paper, the draft will be due, and I want at least 800 words in that draft. And that's going to be worth 50 points, and so on and so forth. And notice that it's not all writing and grading. Tutor review. Conference, talk about it. Okay, do some revision. Peer review. Somebody else coming in, calling in the truth. And then you keep doing that until you get to the final essay, due on the last day of class, not just the end of the semester, because that could be as everybody's waving goodbye, you know, as they're walking down, you know, graduating. How many pages? Does that mean it's double-spaced or not? What is the size of the font? Where do you want it? How many references do you need? Not just a few or enough, you know. And then if you want it posted as well as turned in, where you want that, and if you said, well, I'm not going to take it, it's late, and they've worked, all this time on it, and they didn't know you had that policy, maybe everybody else did, so they think, well, I know, class ended at 12 and it's 5 o'clock, but I just thought you'd take it. I had a friend that if somebody came to class and they didn't turn in their paper at the beginning of the class, if they turned it in at the end of the class, he would not accept it. And he came to me, he said, do you think I'm a little harsh? During class. Yeah, but I mean, it's your policy. You can make it as harsh or as lenient as you like, just so you put it in there, okay? So a lot of it is, we expect them to know. You think, well, any idiot knows that's what I mean. Any idiot knows you double space. Or any idiot knows that I meant type it. I didn't mean write it in pencil, Any
idiot knows you've got to cite sources.
Yeah, they don't. They're not just any idiots. Okay? So here's, just a few, There are a lot of times, especially like in creative writing, I like to say, I don't want to tell you too much. I want you to get out there and do your own thing. And so I said, well, whatever. Yeah, you just kind of feel it, But not most academic writing would I feel like that was acceptable. I do have some exceptions here with other kinds of writing, but academic writing that most of us are talking about here, we've got to be specific. A few sources, a kid might think two is a few. Mm-hmm. Or I cited Wikipedia, what more do you want?
Right, that's what I was going to say. Or I cited such and such news article or blog.
Yeah.
They don't know.
No, they do not know. And so rather than think, oh, I don't want to insult their intelligence by telling them something that I would assume they know, you're not insulting anything, trust me. They don't know. It is the exception that they know. And the more students that we get in, the less and less it seems that they know about things like that. So we were talking about, how did we know that stuff? Well, we diagrammed sentences, and I know that went by the wayside a long time ago with a lot of derision, and yet we know our grammar, don't we? And I personally love diagramming sentences, but I'm weird, so. And then I will give you the little disclaimer here that even when you tell them, they're not going to remember it. I told you 50 times. They didn't hear that. They didn't write that down. And something I think I'm really going to emphasize in my classes this semester, I used to let students come up and just take a picture of the board, especially when I had second or third language students, and with Banu, of course, an exception. But particularly about Chinese students, they would come up and they would take a picture of the board, and I would think, bless their hearts, that'll help them, you just go. But you learn by writing. And did you know that you will remember it better if it's in blue instead of black? I read a study about that. And so now I'm going to say, you're going to have to take notes with a blue ink pen. Yeah. Because you will remember it better that way. A lot of people say, well, how do you learn lines when you're doing a part in a play? One thing that I do, I type them. I'll type my lines over and over again. But even better would be if I wrote them out. Yeah, it depends, yeah. So, maybe when I started out, I was too proud. I ain't too proud to beg now. And anywhere I can get help, I'm going to go and get it. Now, we were talking a little bit earlier about this help is limited, and it is a travesty. So let's talk about this for a minute. My job as a professor is to hold a conference with the students, both as a group and as an individual. Group share, where I am teaching them by way of lecture or by way of example or whatever. We are talking and sharing ideas. We're brainstorming. I'm going over the rules with them. If through the process I see where they have, a lot of them are having a real problem with something, I'll take time out to say, I think we need to review that semicolon rule, okay? We just need to go over about when you use semicolons and how you use them, and just stopping and doing that. If I have one student, though, who doesn't know how to use a semicolon, I'm not going to take time out for the class. I'll work with that. individually. And then having them come in and work with me to get specific advice. Okay, they want to write on abortion. Okay, but that's what they want to write on. And they want to talk to me about it because, okay, they had an abortion. Okay, well now this is different, This is something they really are invested in. So you're getting that specific advice. Or maybe somebody who just has organization problems, or it could be somebody that is just, they've got so many ideas, they don't know how to corral them. Having that one-on-one and doing it more than once. A lot of people will have the obligatory sign up for a conference one time, but maybe you need to do it like once a week or every 2 weeks or something, and making the time for them if you can. It's my job to help them come up with their thesis, not what they're going to say or even what the point is that they're going to be arguing, but how to word that, how to frame that, because that is the backbone of their paper. And if that is strong, then you really have to work to get it wrong. If it's not, then the whole thing falls apart. So I feel like I really have to help them getting that thesis so that it is really workable.
And I know that probably sounds obvious to you guys, but as a librarian, I can't tell you how many students come to the library. Probably not the full-time faculty students. I don't know. I don't ask who's your professor because I don't really want to know. But I can't tell you how many times a student comes to the library and says, my professor will not work with me on my thesis, and I don't know if this is a solid thesis. Can you tell me how I come up with a thesis? What's a thesis? How do I know that mine is a good thesis? And it's all low-level writing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not your 300-level course, but they come. But something's wrong here. I mean, I'm happy to help them, and I can answer that question. But it scares me that it's making it to the library. I don't know.
Yeah. And sometimes it could be the student. I mean,
yeah. And I'm not
saying
that
to be, but you are.
No,
All my
but-
students feel comfortable asking you any question.
And I'm not grading them, so they don't feel, they can ask me if this is a good thesis, because I'm not the one grading it, so I'll give them the advice, and I think they know that I'm not scary when I do it. But I'm just saying, maybe since you guys are all program managers too, maybe something to be aware of.
Yeah.
Well, we also have an issue, we have a lot of transfer students. Like I evaluate transcripts all the time from people who are transferring in as juniors and seniors. Now, I don't know where they took English, and I don't know what year, 40 years ago. And so language, what they remember, like the closing case study this morning, you say, oh, I know what thesis is. Like,
Right, exactly, yeah.
so we have that. I mean, and he doesn't get everybody. He doesn't meet everybody in English. And so, when we have all these different
Areas of knowledge.
Levels of knowledge.
So even when you're in the 200 level, it's probably a good idea. What I was just trying to say is even in the 200 level, it's probably a really good idea to go ahead and have this conferences over thesis.
And sometimes what you want in a thesis is not the same thing that another discipline might want.
Right.
Like I like those argumentative theses that start out as a question, and then they do the research, and they find enough research to prove one side or the other, and then they have to take a stand in a controversy. That doesn't always apply. Maybe math isn't so controversial or whatever. So it depends. Your thesis could just be the point you're going to be making or what you're going to be writing about. In English 102, that's not strong enough, but it might be. So you do need to have those conversations. I'm a strong believer in some kind of outline. I like for them to use, I love the formal outlines, but even a scratch list, helping them organize. No, they're all over the place, and you'll see things repeated. Or you'll get to almost halfway through the paper, and now they're defining the terms that they're using in the first paragraph. It's like, why didn't they go up there? They don't realize that. They just think, just throw it all in there, maybe whatever sticks, and you take a picture of it, and there's your paper. Work with that. Look over what other people have helped them with, and sometimes I'll go, no. I don't know why they said that. I don't know where they were coming from, but I probably wouldn't do it that way. Or I might say, exactly. She is exactly. That's right. What she's doing there. Yes. And then, of course, you will be responsible for that final product. But what are those other jobs? You don't have to grade every draft, okay? I used to think you did. And then I would go through and I would grade, edit, rewrite. And then half of it would get thrown out anyway, and what was the point of that? I wasted all that. And they wasted it. You can just glance at it, you know? You can read through it if you want to, give credit for sure. But you can say, write some things and then get some feedback. Show Tom here, say, read this paper for me. What do you think? And sometimes it's the blind leading the blind. You know, I always find that my second language learners want to sit with the other second language learners, and then they want to exchange papers. And I'll say, no, going to switch that up a little bit. You know, that'll help a little bit. But just getting somebody else's opinion. And I know kids are really, you know, they want to say, cool, you know, yeah, God, I don't see a problem. They may not see a problem, you know, to be honest, they may not. Others are in there just, you know, working away. But letting these people have that opportunity to get and to help them with it before you actually get to it, where you're a little bit more serious perhaps, maybe a little more scary, you know, you've got the grade hangs, whatever. Specific errors. Now, we were talking about going to the writing center and having a writing tutor. And I'm just going to get on the soapbox here. Folks, we need that desperately. And we've been told there's not money to pay enough writing tutors. And I'm almost at the point of passing around a petition and saying, who is willing to go without dessert so that we can have writing tutors, or go without new basketballs, or whatever it might be. We need these writing tutors. We just pay them minimum wage. And yet we've got good people out there who want to do it and are willing to do it for minimum wage. And we need them desperately. Most of you know Kate Smith, English graduate last year. She was the writing center last year. If you sent a student to the writing center and they got good advice, they got it from Kate. We might have had 2 or 3 other people who put in some time over there and maybe helped a little bit. They didn't really know what they were doing. And I know that because they've been my students as well. So I was like, well, I don't know, but okay, we need somebody else. Okay, you know, what are we going to do? If I could clone Kate, I would right this second. You know, I would do anything to have Kate or someone like her. And that's what we need. Students going to the writing centers and working with the tutors who know what they're doing and are paid to put the time in to help them. Not rewrite the paper for them, but to help them become better writers. Now, that's the only way we can survive. And that's the only way our students are going to improve as writers. So whatever bandbox we need to get on, whatever petition, whatever it is, I just implore you to join us in asking for that. We need it desperately. If we have that, then it's not my job to do it all because I've got somebody I can rely on to do it, okay? So they can go over these things and they can keep going back to them. I know Kate would have people that were her regular customers. She saw them maybe every Monday and Friday, you know. They came to her for an hour every Monday and Friday, and their work showed improvement. But if she says, I only saw them once a semester, what can I do, you know? Or if I've got, you know, 10 people lined up to see me, and I'm working on somebody's major project, and I only have 40 minutes, but they couldn't go anywhere else.
And that's just it. I mean, part of the process of getting this and selling it, we argued that we need a third librarian because the other position and I are only half-time librarians. And until we started being able to show statistics where you guys are inviting us to our class, to your classes, to do some literacy training, the administration said that we weren't needed at all. That's why they didn't replace Kathy. So, but then when we started gathering statistics where you guys were inviting us, now we're going to get that library. Still going to be another half time, but at least we're going to get it. So that'll be all the more people that can help. So if we can gather statistics that people are sending folks to the writing center, then they're going to see the importance of it.
You know, I will require that my students go to the writing center. If all of my students are required to go, there's not enough writing tutors to help just my class.
Right.
If everybody does it, as everybody should,
Right.
and everybody certainly should have the opportunity, there's no way one student working half-time can do that. So if you say, I want all of my students to get to see a writing tutor, and I have this number of students, I'm not good at math, but I can put that together. I can tell you that's a lot of kids, and we don't have enough. And I think we know how important writing is. You may not think it's as important as I do. That's okay. I don't think math is as important as maybe you do. I don't use algebra. That's okay. But I think you know how important it is. Yes, sir.
Cynthia and I share the English 380,
Yeah.
our intro to biology research, our IBR. And I would love, so some students are really good writers.
Yeah, we do
And
that.
then there are others that, yeah. So I would love, and there's like 13 in there, so
Between 10 and 15, yeah.
I would love, we share that responsibility. So I would love to sit there and say, before it gets to me, or Cynthia's doing the course, before Cynthia attempts to read it, it needs to go to the writing center.
And you have the right to do that.
You should be.
And I
I
think what I have done before is said to students, because I know it's a very specific kind of writing, that's why we do it in-house in the department. I've said, here are the people that are our biology tutors.
Yes.
Because I know that we may not have people, and I've talked to some of our tutors and some other people. Who's in the writing center? Who do we know? Are there any scientists?
Mhm.
If not, we're about to blow somebody's mind, okay?
Yeah.
And here are the biology tutors that have lived through it, but, there's a certain point where we only have a little bit of space with them still on campus, maybe being a tutor,
That's right.
but try to send them to go.
And we can do that, 13.
Yeah, I got 13 in there, yeah.
No, you can't manage that.
No, I've got that number.
You've got that number, but that doesn't mean you can.
But that, yeah,
Let's
that's
say we're
beyond.
now in between a rock and a hard place. You have now convinced us all that we should use the writing center
Good.
that may be empty.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm saying that's where we're all
Knock on the
looking.
door.
Yeah.
Where's the rest?
Yeah, yeah.
That's our, what do we,
With the lantern looking for a good moment.
we accidentally send them to somebody with money in their
Well,
budget.
we did
It
that.
functions.
I mean, people like
I
it.
didn't suggest that.
We need to teach them what dang the parts
Yeah.
are. They're like,
That was the worst of it. I would be so happy. I would be really good. Funny.
I work as a TA. Part of my job is tutoring, and as Cynthia suggested that if it's out of the program for biology education, they have different terminology to put on the paper.
That's
And
true.
also, you can suggest to the administration that a kind of scholarship, and because that's how I survive through my academic year. Without the tutoring, I cannot make it. So it's kind of the money, because I'm not athletic, but I'm a good tutor. You can suggest to the administration the kind of
Do it as a, that would be great if we had
Scholarship.
more graduate programs.
really.
Unfortunately, we don't have an English graduate program where we could.
Of course, out of
use all that.
biology, you have good students, you have good writers. It can
Maybe
be.
they could get a senior scholarship.
Yeah,
If we can't put money in their pocket, can we take money
take money out of
out
the.
of their debit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Waivers can be.
And by we, I mean someone with the power to make decisions about money, which I don't think any of us have.
No, we don't have the power. And I will say, I have put in the proposal, and I thought it was written very persuasively, and it came back saying, yeah, we love it, but we're not going to fund it. So,
What do they love about it?
they really need it. They really need it. They just don't think we have the money.
Can we do a work?
And I wasn't talking big money. I think I asked for $13,000 to pay all the writing tutors.
Have they proposed that it just be a work study position under a department like the library?
it may,
got so many
some
studies
of
positions
the,
anyway.
it's not so much a problem of our students being, peer tutors. Because we can probably get enough, the problem is I don't have enough good writers who are also good tutors.
And also eligible for work study.
Yeah.
Eligible for work study. If they did,
And our athletes have time.
Where I really need the money is to pay part-time outside professional tutors. And I have the people.
Studies do it.
I have the people. I just
With the
don't
body.
have the
It's-
permission.
The body may be same level writer as the customer.
Has anybody collected the data on how many students go to the writing center?
I don't know if Natasha does that or not. Here's the thing though, I've had a lot of kids tell me, I don't go because I can't get in. And so I think the numbers may not be accurate. But they say, well, yeah, but she only had one person all afternoon. That's because nobody else could sign up, you know, or they had already given up.
Maybe there's a way that students can submit a form that says, I need to come.
They do that. We do have that.
Okay, so
We
if
do
we do have that, then you should have enough information or data to support how many people are actually asking to be
Mhm.
supported and who's getting support and who's not.
Yeah.
Which would be helpful.
That's a good point. I will say this though, we might have a student who says, yeah, I'll be a writing tutor. And they sit in there and they do the time and maybe they do the best they can. But in a lot of ways, they're just perpetuating the problems because it's not a whole lot better than, the two working together in class and blind leading blind sometimes. And the students don't know that,
Well, and then they find out when they get their paper
It's like,
back.
well, I went to the writing center and they said it was okay.
I see a lot of that in the library, because after going to the writing center has failed for them for whatever reason, then they come to my office and they say, well, I went to the writing center and the help I got there got me a C. You supposedly are an educator, and I've literally had students say, you supposedly are an educator. Can you give me better writing advice? What am I supposed to, I say yes, and I ask them to sit down and I try to help them, but I am not a grammar expert. I can help them with coherency. You supposedly are an educator?
Yeah, that's, yeah.
I have an education for you, child.
Yeah.
It's a
Well-
minor.
But they're angry at that point.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, and they should be.
Yeah.
They should be.
Understandable for the crowd, but holy cow.
Students sometimes too, expecting if they go to the tutor.
They have to
solve all their
they don't win
problems.
an A.
Yeah.
Right, and
That's
that's
right.
not always so because tutoring is just that.
Yeah.
It's tutoring, it's
Yeah.
not doing.
Yeah,
Well, and that's the problem.
Right.
Or a lot of them, and I've seen this happen, and Kate had told me, she'd come back to let me know. She said they come in, they drop off the paper, and then they get on their phone,
Right.
or they go off and meet somebody or whatever, they come back and say, my paper ready. They expected her to rewrite the paper for them.
Right.
And she said, I'm shutting that down right now. But I had to tell the students that, I had to say, you don't go in there and drop off your paper. You don't go in there and sit on your phone while she's trying to show you what you're doing wrong. You don't expect her to rewrite that paper.
It's a matter of setting.
Yeah, so you have to, you can't assume they know that. You got to tell them. And that's something we were talking about, the Pathways course. The Pathways course is a great place to get that information across. So how can we do the job and do it without killing ourselves is really kind of the point of all of this. We've got other great things, but kind of the point is this. There are times when you do certain things and times when you don't have to do certain things. So if you thought that you had to grade every little word, you had to change every little word, and you had to stay up all night to do that for every paper that you assigned, and say you're teaching English 101, you might assign 5 to 8 major papers, and let's say you've got 25 students in the class, MLA says 15 should be the cap, 20 has always been the best we've ever been able to do, and then it keeps inching up. So let's say it's 25, and you teach 4 of those classes. That's all you do. And I'm here to tell you, that's how I spent my youth. So cry me a river or something, but I've learned though. But I didn't want to learn like some people say, well, then I just don't grade them, or I just don't assign them, or, no, I hope I have more integrity than that. I hope I have a little more heart than that. Find a way that you can make it work. So that's what I'm trying to say. Use checklists when you can. Use specific rubrics when you can. We've talked about rubrics. talk about them again if you want to. Give points. Sometimes it's hard to say, is this an A paper, is this a B paper? I don't know. But I can say they get a point off here and they get 5 points off here, and then I just add that up. Okay, you can do that. There is a time, though, when you do need to write comments. And sometimes that's what, when I first started grading, it might take me 40 minutes to grade one paper. And then I'm looking at, I've got 40 papers to grade tonight, Well, yeah, that's not happening. But, you thought, I've got to do it. I've got to do it. And so you can see why you get to where you hate it. And then when you write, you start out writing nice and legibly. I think I have really pretty handwriting, but nobody would know that because it gets like this, And then what was the point of all that effort? Because they look at it, they can't read it. The first thing they do when class is over, what did you say? They can't read it. So I learned that typing my comments, it's faster for me, it's legible, and I can do that on Moodle, or I can do that in a Word document and do the review part and do it right there. Print it out, easy, saves time. You can even have little segments that you have to repeat over and over with certain students, like you've got a problem with subject-verb agreement. This is what I mean by that. This is how you fix that. I don't have to type that every time. I've got it there, cut and paste it, stick it in there in my comments. They get the information. I save myself some time. That's what it's about. Yes, sir.
If you have a student coming in and asking for your help, but through the course of conversation, you get this feeling that the student is playing you. How do you respond?
It depends. Are they funny? No.
Serious playing.
Yeah. How do you read?
They're going to ask enough questions until you've written your paper for them.
Oh. I think a lot of it depends on how I'm feeling that day at that particular time. Sometimes I'll play along. Sometimes I'll be honest with you, I'm too naive to know that I'm being played. Especially if they're really smooth, or I'm really interested in what it is you're talking about. But a lot of times I'll say, I covered the soup class, and if you need particular help with this, that's what the writing center is for.
Did you ever tell them it's not rewriting this?
Oh, yeah. Many times. Yeah. I'll tell them, I'm not your editor. I tell them that. They expect me to come in and edit it. And then they'll say, well, now, if you say that the draft is okay, then I can just turn that in and I'll get an A, right? No. I'm telling you from a cursory glance, you're on the right track. But I'm not giving you little particular points here. I don't have time to do that. It's not what this is for. You're supposed to be finding that out anyway. And
So you really tell them?
I do tell them, yeah.
Well, that's straightforward. That's good.
Oh, yeah, you have to, yeah. It's only fair to go through it, in the long run. Yeah. Oh, yeah, but that's the first thing I'll say is, I'm not your editor. I'm not your editor.
Well, I was going to ask Becky, something that I really love, is the track changes feature on Word.
Yes.
I was going to ask you if you loved or hated that. And what you heard. I mean, I think it's great. You have to give it to them with the caveat that everyone knows track changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because they don't.
No, they
right?
don't know.
And if you use it and they open up their document and they go, it looks like explosions all over it. The only problem is you have to tell them, if you go through and hit accept all changes and never look at it again, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
So we're just, they don't know they can do that. They
Yeah,
go
I
through
don't
and
tell
try to
them
stick
that.
with both of them open and fix it and
Yeah.
make the same mistake over and over, but then it's functional. Oh,
I primarily use the function in the preview or review section, and then I type in my comments.
Right.
I highlight it and type in my comments. That's pretty much what I do, rather than exactly what you're doing here. But is that, and that way, and I used to say, don't say that, say this, say it this way or whatever. So then I just, okay.
Well,
But I don't do that.
Yeah, fix a few sentences and say, see what I've done
See what I
here,
did?
see if you can
Apply.
do this through the rest of the
Exactly.
document. And if they only fix it where I fixed it,
Then
then
you
they'll
know.
move on. And I also, so I do have a writing intensive course, even as a scientist, actually, because I teach ethics, and that is what they have to do, is give me a giant paper at the end of the semester with a dissected ethical argument, scientifically related. But my
them is something that my grad school mentor told me once, is nothing pisses your reviewers off more than them working harder on it than you do. And that kind of, I feel like that kind of like resonates. Like if I spend 2 hours reading your paper, and I usually do because I only have 6 or 7 students, and it's a big paper, and I know they're going to get a revision, right? And so it's like they give me a draft, and then we go through a fake peer review process. And they give it back to me, like the bulk of their second grade is the quality of the revision that they made, and not just, they went through and fixed a few things that I saw and handed it right back to me and spent 20 minutes on where I spent several hours on it.
Exactly, and that's what we mean by the process. Like on the rough draft, we say if your grammar really doesn't matter, your spelling doesn't matter, what I want is the ideas, I want the flow and whatnot. And then when we go back and we grade that, grade for the flow, don't grade for the grammar. Now you might say, your grammar is all jacked up, but you need to work on some, fragment, run-on stuff. But I'm not grading for that now. Yeah.
Well, coolly, I tell them with their first draft, I said, don't think of it as a draft. This needs to be a final project. Like, you were going to submit this to a journal, and you think it's as good as it possibly could be, because I want them to get that horrible feeling that everyone gets when they get a paper back from peer review, and your reviewers hated it. And I said, look, I'm going to rip this apart because that's what I'm going to do, and you're going to have to do your classmates, and they're going to rip it apart too, but they don't get to see their classmates reviews.
Yeah.
And
I think it depends on the level.
Yeah.
I would not handle a freshman paper that way.
No, they're seniors.
Seniors, yeah, that's different. But again, the whole idea of process and telling them, and that's something I talk about here, is when you, what to do and what not to do. Maybe this is where I want to really hit this. Let's look at the what not to do. Don't say, I'm not going to assign papers then because it's too much work. No, you don't get off like that. Don't expect it to be done just like that and it'll be perfect. I tell them, a rough draft, your life it's not like, heart surgery where you only get one chance, and if you mess it up, you killed your patient. In this case, they'll live to bleed another day, so you can make mistakes. And I tell them, don't get it right, get it written. Just get it on the paper. I can't help you with it. Nobody can help you with it as long as it's still here. And what they want to do is just, well, let me tell you, this isn't oral communication. This is writing. Even in creative writing, they want to tell me their fantasy story. They don't want to write it down, because it's too much work. Yeah.
I appreciate you saying about the grammar because I have 80 students and I've edited every paper.
No, you don't have
It is
to.
so anxiety provoking every semester for me
Yeah.
that I have these papers. I mean,
Set you free.
yes, so I appreciate that.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
In the classroom, of course, it's the second in the sequence of a research series. They do get to submit an initial draft. They are given 2 structure choices they can choose from, and I've produced a sample narrative for each structure. Okay, so they'll submit the first one, and it will be a strung together list of summaries.
Whatever.
They'll get their initial grade, which has made an attempt. But going to your point, if they submit the same piece the second time, they get it. I've had to add a column to the rubric, which did not make an attempt.
Yeah.
The lowest grade makes an attempt to follow the structure. There are some who don't at all. So I've stopped feeling guilty. That was the big thing. It's like, if this is a D, it's a D. If they've been given a chance.
Well, the thing is, the first assignment was a draft. They got a grade for the draft. The second assignment is a revision. It's not just a rehash of the rough draft. It's a revision, which means redoing it. And so this is a whole new grade, And if they say, well, is it pretty good? Can I just turn that in? Even if it was, I wouldn't tell them that. I'd say, heck no. This is a draft. You need a revision now. And I tell them, don't edit your revision. This is revision. You're going to edit the next draft. Don't edit something that we might cut out and throw away. You wasted all that time on. We'll get to editing later. And then don't forget the last part. proofreading. Yeah, yeah, because that's a lot of it. And that example that I gave you, that girl, if she proofread, she probably would have caught most of her errors. But anyway, just to, because we're running out of time here, the things that not to do, and somebody said something about red pen. I had a student say, you know, I get my paper back in Bleeding Kansas. I was really kind of impressed that they had some kind of a allusion to make, you know, to it. But what does this say? It basically says, I'm really angry with you. What did you mean? Well, let's hope your intent was to say, you need some help. But that's not really what it conveys. What did they see? They look at that. Did they sit there and read over everything? No.
Most students would just crumble.
They would crumple that up. You know, if I had gotten it back, and even if it had an A- on it, and it had this on there, I would be in tears. I couldn't look at it. You know, I would just be too humiliated. What will they do when you turn this in? Will they go back over and learn from that? They won't. They will give up right there. And they'll be frustrated. They'll think they can't do it. And they think that you're not somebody they can come to work with. And that's, if I had done this in purple or green or blue, it wouldn't have the same impact that the red has. Now, it would still be bad, but the red just,
Well, the fact that they circled the F about.
oh, I know. You can, you're just so angry, you know. That's, you know. See, they do that. And they think, I'm doing such a great job. You're not doing a great job if kids aren't going to read it, if they're not going to improve from it. Instead, they're turned off. So don't do it. You don't have to do it. Okay, so quickly, I've given you some handouts. I just want to identify them for you. And if you didn't get them up here. And this is just a group I put together. There's more to it than that. But when they go to the Writing Center, the tutors fill out this form. And so that's how I make sure that they went to the Writing Center. They give that back to me. And I say, okay, you were assigned to go to the Writing Center, and I want to see where the tutor has signed off. And I want to see what they worked on. Okay? And I also like to look on there, and the tutor says they don't have any trouble with run-on sentences, and I'm looking at it, the whole paper is running off, you know, and I'm like, whoa, we got a problem with the tutor. Yeah, we got a problem. On the back of that, here is just one peer review checklist I've used. And this is just an easy checklist of, I think this is for 101, where they can just, if they want to, there's questions, they need some structure, some guidance. So read the paper and then answer these questions. What do you think? And if they want to, they can just say good or needs work. That's all they want to do, fine. Or they could write a little more if they wanted to. That's cool, that'll work. When I first started grading, and this became ingrained in me, at the end of every paper I put organization, support, content style, diction mechanics. And I went through after I read the paper and say, oh, how's their organization? How's all right? How's their support? Well, they need more of that. How's the content? Yeah, that's pretty good, pretty interesting. Style, okay, it's all right. Their diction, okay. Their mechanics, oh, it's horrible. I would put this at the end, and I would make sure all my students knew what all this stood for, what all my little marks meant. Then whatever I wrote under here, I already had the shorthand to refer to. So that was what I used for eons. So that's why I've got it in my head. But I've learned that there are other ways of doing that. You can do this if you want to, or you can find a better way. This one is a checklist and rubric for using APA. And so that's one that I used, if that would be useful to you. And then this one for grading a final research essay, where I say, this is what has to go in to meet the requirement for an A. This for me, and so forth. So let's say a student turns in a paper, it's minimum pages 8, minimum pages, and they turn in 6. They turn in 6. It's not an A, and it says very clearly here, it meets that requirement. Where it says down there that it is not, it is one page short of the length requirement. It is 2 pages short. It says very clear, this is a C or this is a D. If they come back and say, why did I get a C on this paper? Well, you turned in 7 pages. It says very clearly you have 8 pages. And so that just backs you up right there. Plus it also tells you other things that I'm looking for. So once I've gotten where I know what I'm looking for and how it fits, then I can just say, did they have this? Did they have this? Okay, then I know they've got A, B, C, or whatever.
And I think you have to define what full page is too.
You do?
Because I've gotten papers, they even count the title page,
Oh,
the
yeah.
abstract, and the reference page, and said they got.
They
put on
do,
the pages.
they do. I'll say it has to be text. It has to be text.
That's what I.
Also, here's another rubric where we did that, and I did the content, organization style mechanic thing there. And then we used to have, and I don't know if this is still required, when Dr. Ernesto was here, we had to put this, writing, guideline. Okay. You can also use that as your rubric. And you can use that, you can say, everybody has this, you know what I'm grading for.
But yeah, that's in every, that's in
That's in
the syllabus,
every
but online.
Yeah.
Let me just make a couple of announcements before, we wrap up. Announcement number one is remember that, we have ice cream out there in between the breaks. We have, Edie coming up next, in half an hour, but we have half hour break, you can get ice cream during that. But Ellen wanted me to also remind you guys to please wear, something vacation-y Hawaiian, for our group picture tomorrow. Okay.
And one last thing, this,
Oh, I'm sorry, Jack, yeah, you're done.
okay, so this page right here, advisor worksheet for 380, if you do not teach the equivalent course in your discipline, then all students are required to take English 380 or the equivalent in the discipline. If they were taking it in through the English department, we ask that every student get their advisor to fill this out for them. So I'm giving you a copy of that, because who knows what the student is going to end up actually doing. But they should have a copy of this. This semester, NC, Jim Thornton will be teaching the 380, and then we have a couple of people teaching it online. We lost one of our really great 380 teachers. She got hired away full time. But anyway, you probably will be working with Jim some and with his students. So anyway, that's to let you know. And I wanted us to get to go through and say, how would we grade this paper? You might look at that and say, oh, well, I see some few grammar errors, but other than that, it's okay. I want to very quickly, if I can, show you the assignment. This is what they were supposed to do. Defend or argue a theory, citing specific examples, citing, according to MLA, with an academic voice, a minimum of 1,000 words, standard English. And then you tell me, this is a senior, their final paper. So, thank you all so much. Thanks for letting me be on my soapbox.